What is going on, guys? It is your host, Neil Villapiano, and welcome to another edition of Mofobo Network Presents here on YouTube, the best place to get the most up-to-date news in the wide world of sports. As always, thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day to check this video out. I really do appreciate it. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment, as well as subscribe to this so you don't miss any new episodes that we post here on YouTube every single Wednesday. We always have a ton to talk about going on in the world of sports, and today is no exception. As today, we are going to be talking about the newly crowned WNBA champions, the Seattle Storm. For the fourth time in their history, they are on the mountaintop of the WNBA. So we have a bunch to talk about. We're going to recap the series, go through each game. We're going to talk about who won the MVP and why the Seattle Storm team rightfully deserves to be the champions of this league. So without further ado, let's kick some Mofobo. So the Seattle Storm yesterday this past Tuesday defeated the Las Vegas Aces in Game 3 of the WNBA Finals by a whopping 33 points. They won 92-59 in that Game 3 to have a clean sweep. It was a best-of-5 series, and the Seattle Storm won pretty convincingly in all three games to secure the franchise's fourth WNBA championship. They won three others in 2004, in 2010, in 2018, and now at a fourth here in 2020. And the big reason, in my opinion, when I look back on this series about, why were the Storm just that much better than the Las Vegas Aces, it's primarily because the Storm have Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart, two of arguably the top three players in the WNBA today. I compare those two to LeBron and Anthony Davis being on the Lakers right now. That it's very difficult when you have two of the top five best players in your sport on the same team having so much tremendous chemistry. And Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart, since they've been able to become teammates, they have just clicked right away. They've done so well. They've created so many awesome highlights. And in this WNBA final, they really showcased their talents and how good of an overall team the Storm have. Because I mentioned on a podcast episode on Mofobo Network podcast when we were discussing the WNBA Finals, I was talking about the fact that the Storm have a very young team. So last year, because obviously Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird were both out with season-ending injuries, this Storm team really had to focus on their young players developing and learning the WNBA game and also just gelling as a team. And I think that was a big reason why when you get to 2020 and playing in this bubble, they were able to already have a huge amount of momentum and chemistry going with them because of that previous experience. But mainly the duo of Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird was just too much for the Las Vegas Aces team to handle. And you got to give credit where credit is due to the Las Vegas Aces. In just their third year of existence, they got to WNBA Finals. Ja Wilson did a tremendous job in this final. She really did everything she possibly could to keep her team in it. But the reality was that the Storm were just that much of a better team. But you do have to give credit to Bill Laimbeer, the head coach of the Vegas Aces, Jay Wilson, and that entire Vegas franchise, for a tremendous year. And trust me, this is only the beginning of them being a very competitive team, a team that could certainly get back to the WNBA Finals and hopefully next time actually win it. But the Seattle Storm were better in this one. And we go to game one, and the Storm won pretty easily, 93-80. Sue Bird, she was the star of that game because she set a WNBA playoff/finals record with 16 assists in the game. The previous record was 12. And that was really the thing. Once you saw that she already had 8 in the first quarter, you kind of felt that she was on pace to do something really, really special in that game. And I think she ended up getting to 12 by the end of the first half. So she was already on pace to be doing so. And because the game was still very close throughout the first half, you kind of figured that she was going to have to continue to play the way that she was playing. And she did not let up. She was able to get a couple more assists and get a total of 16 assists, like I mentioned before. And Breanna Stewart, she basically balled out. I mean, if it wasn't for Sue Bird having her record-setting game when it comes to assists, Breanna Stewart would have been the MVP of that game because she dropped 37 points and had 15 rebounds. And I think the majority of the assists that Sue Bird had were because she was dishing it off to Breanna Stewart. And again, that just proves just how great chemistry those two have and how well they're able to see each other on the court and where they need to be. So the Storm were just a lot better in that game, and Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart, showed exactly why they're two of the top three players in the WNBA. But a record-setting night for Sue Bird, and more importantly, the Storm getting a 1-0 lead. In game number 2, again, a double-digit victory for Seattle. They won 104-91, a little bit more of a high-scoring game. Sue Bird had another really solid night. She had 16 points and 10 assists. So through the first 2 games, she had double-digit assists, so that's already 26 through 2 games. Again, just being the consummate pro and the leader that she is, especially on the court with the way that she runs the offense. She picked up right where she left off in game number 1. And what's interesting about this game more than anything was that it wasn't just Breanna Stewart doing a lot of the scoring. Alicia Clark and Natasha Howard also both scored 20-plus points. Breanna Stewart had 22, Clark had 21, and Natasha Howard also had 21. So it was more of a collective group of players in game number 2 that were able to help the Storm win that game and take a 2-0 lead in the series. And then we go to game 3, like I mentioned, that was played yesterday, and it was pretty much over, I would say, after the first quarter. And like I mentioned before, the Storm went on to win this game 92-59, which that 33-point margin of victory is the largest in WNBA Finals history. So a lot of people were talking about throughout the regular season and in the postseason and in even early on here in the finals, just nobody had seen a dominant team in the WNBA like the Seattle Storm throughout a whole year. And they put the finishing touches on it by giving up just 59 points in game number 3 to walk away with a 30-plus point victory. And with that, the Seattle Storm were able to win the game, win the series, and win the franchise's 4th WNBA championship. Breanna Stewart had another very impressive game as she dropped 26 points in that one. She clearly was not going to be denied, finishing the job and winning that game. And I thought for sure she was going to be on pace to score 40. I mean, early on in the game, you could see that she wanted to rock. She wanted to, put the finishing touches on it, and she was able to do that and absolutely kick Mofobo from the opening tip to the last second that came off that clock. And you got to give her all the credit in the world. And because of that, and because of her impressive performance in all 3 games, Breanna Stewart was named WNBA Finals MVP. This is the second one that she received in her WNBA career. She also won it in 2018 with the Seattle Storm. She finished with 85 points, 23 rebounds, and 7 assists throughout the entire 3 games of the finals. And she is now the 5th player in WNBA history to win multiple finals MVPs. The Houston Comets' Cynthia Cooper won it twice. The Los Angeles Sparks' Lisa Leslie also won it twice. Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury won it twice. And Sylvia Fowles from the Minnesota Lynx also won it. So she becomes the 5th WNBA player to win multiple finals MVPs. So it just goes to show you how great of a player Breanna Stewart is. And she's only 26 years of age. She's pretty much right now in the prime of her career. And if she's able to keep up this level of play, along with Sue Bird, along with the depth that the Seattle Storm have, I wouldn't be surprised if she won a couple more championships and probably a couple more MVPs, because I just don't think there's anybody in the league right now that really can slow down Breanna Stewart. She's a 5-tool player. She just knows exactly where to be at the right time. And really, just nobody has been able to figure out how to slow her down. And you saw it in the WNBA Finals. But I think what makes this whole championship for the Storm so satisfying is primarily because of what happened to the Storm's 2-star players prior to the beginning of the 2019 season, because they both suffered season-ending injuries while playing overseas before the WNBA season actually began. Breanna Stewart tore her Achilles in the EuroLeague immediately following her MVP campaign of 2018 with Seattle. Veteran point guard Sue Bird also ruled out for the year after undergoing knee surgery. So both of these women were going to be out the entire year, and the Storm actually had a pretty decent season without those two. They finished 18-16, record over 500, and actually won a playoff game. So they clearly were still a very good team, but they just were not the same without their two star players on the court, and they were not able to go back and defend their championship title. I mean, it would have been one hell of a story if the Storm had actually been able to go very far. But going into the 2020 season, obviously also with the fact that we were playing in a bubble and the whole season was going to be played in a bubble, including the postseason and finals, it was going to be a challenging season for the Storm and for every single player in the WNBA. And all of these women and everybody that worked in this bubble, passed with flying colors. They did a tremendous job. I give the WNBA a lot of credit that they also were able to just allow their players to speak freely on things outside of basketball, social issues, particularly with the Black Lives Matter movement and also getting social justice for all. I mean, that is a tremendous job. Women's equality in sports is such a big thing, in my opinion, and I'm glad that the WNBA was so big on putting that emphasis on it from start to finish. So my hat is off to everybody in the WNBA for a tremendous season. I think one of the best seasons they have actually ever had as an entire league. So that's a job well done by the Women's National Basketball Association. But then going back to this regular season, from the first game to basically the end of the finals, the Seattle Storm were just the most dominant team. Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart were fully healthy. They had well over a year to recover, and right from the start, you knew that they were on a mission to showcase that they were still two of the best players in the WNBA, and that the Seattle Storm were still one of the most dominant franchises in the league. The Storm led the WNBA in offensive and defensive efficiency during the season. The Storm had a league-leading net rating of +15, which only trails the 1998 and 2000 Houston Comets as the best in WNBA history. And they also had a league-leading point differential of +11.5, which only trails the 2019 Mystics and the 1998 to 2000 Houston Comets in WNBA history. That right there, those three statistics that I just presented, just show you the definition of dominance. The Storm knew that they wanted to make a statement this entire WNBA season, and they did. And you know what's really great about it? And I look at it from a human standpoint. There are a lot of young girls that are very interested in sports, particularly basketball, and have dreams of becoming a professional athlete, a professional sport, and just a great role model for girls following them. And they see women like Sue Bird, who's just a consummate professional, Breanna Stewart, who is just a tremendous all-around player and great ambassador to women's sports and the game of basketball in general. And that entire team and those young girls are going to be looking at those players and saying, I want to be just like them. They're showcasing that it is possible to be a dominant basketball player, a dominant figure in the world, not just as a woman, but just as a human being. And I think that that's something that we all need to recognize and say the WNBA does a fantastic job. The only other league/sport that I would say does as good of a job, if not even better, is just women's soccer, particularly with the United States women's national team. If you go back a couple of years ago when they won the World Cup, they were the most talked about sports team in the world. So you have that. But other than the U.S. women's national team, the WNBA puts so much emphasis on it. And another thing to point out is this. Usually the WNBA season is played throughout the entire summer, and a lot of people will say, well, a lot of people are not interested in basketball at that moment, so it's hard to watch. This year was different. We played the season late in the summer into early, fall time frame, and now we're finishing in early October. And I think because also the fact that we had the NBA season still to finish as well, I think it allowed more people to sit and actually watch WNBA games and say, wow, there are a lot of really, really talented players. I knew that Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart were great players, But watching them in these 3 games in the WNBA Finals, I was just blown away by how talented they are, and also just about all the other talents that are in the WNBA. I mean, Natasha Howard, from game 1 to game 3, even though she really balled out in game number 2 and maybe on the scoreboard not as much in games 1 and 3, she was just a force the entire time. The Aces could not know what to do with her. And then you saw a girl like Ajay Wilson, who is the league MVP, and everybody's looking at her to see how she'll do carrying this Aces team. Well, she did as good of a job as anybody could with that team to carry them and to be as competitive as they possibly could. But you just knew that the Storm were just a better overall team. But that should not take away any credit from Ajay Wilson's performance. She's done a fantastic job this entire year. She definitely deserves to be the MVP. And you look at her, and she's won a league MVP. She's been an all-star twice, and she's a rookie of the year in just her first 3 full seasons of playing professional basketball. It just goes to show that she's one of the up-and-coming players and one of the main faces of the WNBA going into the future. And we also have Sabrina Ionescu, which it's unfortunate that she got hurt early on this year and wasn't able to play that much in her first year in the WNBA with the New York Liberty. But once she fully recovers and gets back on the court with her team, I think she's going to be one of those women that young girls right now look up to. And, Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart, to a lesser extent, are part of the, I guess you would say, the older generation of WNBA fans. But now we're starting to get a couple of young stars in this league, like the people I mentioned, Wilson, Ionescu, and you're saying that, the future is certainly bright for WNBA basketball, for women's sports, and just women being influences in our world today. And that's just what's so great about it. So it's just a tremendous job by the WNBA. Even though it was a 3-game sweep, it was a pretty entertaining WNBA final, to say the least. And congratulations once again to the Seattle Storm on winning their 4th WNBA championship in franchise history. Hey guys, it's your host, Neil Villapiano. Thank you guys so much for checking out this week's video here on Mofobo Network Presents. I greatly, greatly appreciate that you guys took some time to check this out. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like, also subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that we post every single Wednesday, and also just leave a comment and let me know what you guys think of the video and everything else like that. So please do that. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you want to check out more of this YouTube channel, like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Mofobo Network Facebook page, where there you can stay up to date with the new videos that we post. We also have a podcast for Mofobo Network. It's called Mofobo Network Podcast, where it's available on Anchor and Spotify. Just like here on Mofobo Network Presents, we post new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, talking about the most up-to-date topics and content in the wide world of sports. So please go like and subscribe to that as well. You can stay up to date with the podcast, just like Mofobo Network Presents as well, on the Mofobo Network Facebook page. You can follow me on my personal Twitter at THENVPSHOW, and also on my personal Instagram at NVPQB11. If you want to continue to check out great content that I put out, you can check me out as the host of the Devils State of Mind podcast, which is the New Jersey Devils hockey team-based podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. On this podcast, in which we post new episodes every single Monday, I talk about all the news and notes and all exciting things happening with the New Jersey Devils, as well as hockey news in general. We have great guests that come on with some just great stories and so much fun. So please go check that out as well. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. So SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, wherever. Just search Hockey Podcast Network or Devil's State of Mind, and you'll find it. Please also go check out hockeypodcastnetwork.org, where there you can see all the team-based podcasts and just other great hockey podcasts that we have on this network. So if you're a hockey fan, or if you're not, or if you just want to learn more about the sport, please go check it out, hockeypodcastnetwork.org. We have a Twitter for the Devil's State of Mind podcast at Devil's State. We have an Instagram at Devil's State of Mind. And just like Mofobo, we have a Facebook page where there you can stay up to date with the new episodes of the podcast posted every single Monday. And also on all of those, there is a link to the Devil State of Mind website, where also if you just bookmark it, you can see all the new episodes that we post. So please go check that out as well and support me on there. And last but certainly not least, go check out my book right now on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble. It's titled JETS, Pain, Pain, Pain. It's about the pain and suffering of being a Jets fan for the Jets fan. And so, I mean, obviously you look at the fact that the Jets off to an 0-3 start, not really that great. But this book will certainly help you understand more about, why the team is the way that they are, why they've been this way for so long. We go through a lot of great painful stories, painful moments, painful player decisions, and everything else. So please go check that book out. If you're a Jets fan or a football fan, if you know someone who's one of those, or if you just want to support me, go check it out. It's available for hardcover and ebook for the price of $19.69. And if you're a Jets fan or a football fan, you probably guessed why I chose that price. So please go check it out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Again, JETS, Pain, Pain, Pain. So thank you guys very much once again for checking out this edition of Mofobo Network Presents, and we will see you in the next video. And as I always say at the end of every single video, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what hardships you might be dealing with, just remember when you wake up in the morning to think positively, have a smile on your face, and kick some Mofobo. So thank you guys very much, and God bless.